Hey Katrina, I'm going to take a look at your poem, The Waterman's Wife, and I think that the prize for deepest revision so far goes to this poem. I think you've done a great job reworking this, and so I'm going to take a quick read of the first draft, and then we'll focus on the revision. So here's the first one, The Waterman's Wife. It's not a painting most people would choose for their dining room. A red-haired matron holding dead fish. Better to have, as my friends do, black letters spelling eat, or oversized portraits of forks. When I found her that day in the tiny shop, she wouldn't look at me. Her narrow eyes averted, a shawl falling from her shoulders, I thought she was lovely. The artist said, many times she asked herself, why am I painting this woman holding dead fish? But of course, the answer was, because she's beautiful. Her sadness is the button eye of the fish who's not dead yet, bobbing vertically in the ocean of her dark blouse. One fish floats above her folded arms, his mouth open. The other three are freshly dead, their glazed eyes orbited by dark rings, and their bodies slumped over the crook of her elbow the way she might carry a jacket. I was getting married, and after I bought the painting I went to the beach and rode waves until dusk. She came to mean how free I was. I dreamed the lift and drop of waves and the red-haired woman, and I propped her on my bookcase, like a diploma, and she stayed there even after the wedding, cradling her lifeless catch, her eyes fixed on something just out of reach. And here's the revision. The canvas is wind-snapped, as she works, the waterman's wife, painting dead fish. Today is easel sink and resin slick, the fish piling like dreams at her feet. Their iridescence, their deaths are symbols she hasn't parsed. Instead, she pushes oil into crescents of scales, cross-hatches the eye-hole, shadows space between parted lips. In some versions, she's holding the fish, all land-drunk and water-starved, their bodies slumped over the crook of her elbow, the way she might carry a jacket. She drowns the brushes in solvent, takes the same path back, her footprints cross-hatching the sand like the button eye of a fish who's not dead yet, bobbing in the ocean of her dark blouse. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. So you've changed so much about it, and I think you've done a really great job. So it's kind of an ekphrastic piece, at least knowing what I know about the first version, that you're talking about a painting. And I get some of that here from the revision, but there's also an examination of the artist as well, which comes through and has some bearing on the poet. So this works on different levels. I think the sounds that you've captured are wonderful. Easel sink and resin slick is amazing. Their deaths are symbols she hasn't parsed. The crescents of scales, cross hatches of the eye hole, all this is really, really wonderful. And it gives a good vocabulary as well for the reader to get into some of the different layers. The picture, as well as the deeper meanings, the idea of translation, like this parsing of symbols, and as well as the translation of a scene into a piece of art. So one thing I wanted to mention is the verb to be, which you're probably tired of me mentioning at this point. But if you look at the first 3 sentences and another further down, you'll see that you don't actually have an active verb in these. The first sentence, the canvas is wind-snapped as she works. The waterman's wife painting dead fish. And then the second sentence, today is easel sink and resin slick, the fish piling like dreams at her feet. The two sentences here have some gerunds like painting and piling. And then even the third sentence, their iridescence, their deaths are symbols she hasn't parsed. So that last section, the are symbols she hasn't parsed, all is a participle or something, but it's not actually having an active verb. And then there's another one here. So you finally get active here. Instead, she pushes oil into crescents of scales. And when you actually get into using that verb, it gives the character that you're portraying some agency, and it shows what she's doing. She's laboriously working on the oil and putting it onto the canvas, instead of these first parts, which are passive. And again, if you go down here, in some versions, she's holding the fish. You hide it here by using the contraction, but you still have that passive construction. Maybe not necessarily a passive verb, but it's that using the to be verb, it has an extra layer of distance. So, and I don't understand why you wouldn't say, in some versions she holds the fish, which brings the reader closer into the picture, because even that little change does make a huge difference for the person reading and looking at this piece. And I think you want this piece to be looked at a little bit deeper. This piece has those layers going on. So you want to make it as vibrant as possible. And one way to do that is to look where you're using those to be verbs and make them active. That's a really minor criticism. That's a super easy fix as well for most of these parts. Otherwise I have just a lot of compliments for this. The way that you've taken the idea of the fish, of death, of the waterlogged imagery, land drunk, drowning brushes, all this kind of things. The button eye of the fish, which I think is a really great image and very expressive. The fish who's not dead yet, and again, you have this gerund here in the last part, bobbing in the ocean. It could be like who bobs in the ocean of her dark blouse. All of this really comes together for me. I am left a little bit wondering who she is and why we're talking about her. And that might be just a holdover a little bit from the first piece. I'm having somewhat of a hard time separating my understanding of what you did in version 1 and what you're doing in version 2. So that might not really matter, but I do wonder a little bit about whether you're talking about someone in a painting, whether you're talking about the art itself, and maybe you're talking about all of this stuff, and that ambiguity is what you are looking to convey. It might be totally fine. It's sort of a minor point, but I'm sort of pulling at straws to find things to criticize here. You did a really great job, and hopefully these few comments have helped you. I look forward to reading the next version of it. Thanks, Kat.